Hello sa inyo. Kakatapos lang ng JFIA at Fest natin kani-kanina lang. And with that, congratulations sa hierarchy na nanalo. And doon sa tatlo, joke lang. Congrats pa rin. At least, kahit pa paano, naka-exercise, naka-relax kayo sa ating short academic break. So with that, we will now continue with our discussion for this semester. Kasi before the midterms, ang diniscuss natin is law on partnerships. Ngayon, i-discuss naman natin yung corporation code, law on corporations. Now, with that, ano ba dito? So, konting intro-intro muna tayo in regards to this topic. So, nung panahon kasi namin, parang ang tanda na, no? Nung panahon namin, ang ginagamit pa was the new Corporation Code of the Philippines, which is Batas Pambansa bilang 68, BP 68. It was promulgated or enacted noong May 1980. So, itong revised Corporation Code of the Philippines natin ngayon, which is Republic Act number 11232, was enacted noong February 20, 2019. So, last year lang. Wala pa siyang 2 years. So, nung panahon namin, yung BP 68, yung old corp code yung naging basis namin for the board exam. Ngayon, sa batch nyo, ito na yung magiging basis. The Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines, Republic Act 11232. So, yun. Now, bakit to na-enact ang Republic, bakit ni-revise nila yung corporation code? Ano yung reason nila? Well, basically, because of these reasons. Ito, it aims to further ease the information or the formation, of corporations and filing of applications and reports which have frustrated those who deal with the bureaucracy. So basically, meaning lang yan para mas padaliin yung pag-form ng mga corporations. Kasi as we know, itong bureaucracy na to, yan yung nagpapatagal sa process kasi marami pang kamay na kailangang pagdaanan. So with this promulgation of the revised corp code, mas pinili nilang pabilisin yun. And another reason bakit to na-revise is to empower the SEC to fully enforce the new law kasi may mga revisions yan. And it also introduced new rules that align with the developments and technologies and new laws that came after the old corp code. Bakit? Kasi 'di ba, as I have said, Batas Pambansa bilang 68 was promulgated noong 1980 pa. 2020s na tayo ngayon. So may mga new technologies na available na para mas mapadali yung pag-formation ng corporation. Later on, makikita niyo yung mga electronic filing, yan ginagamit na for the formation ng isang corporation. Noong 1980, it is hindi pa yan, hindi accessible. So mano-mano pa yung ginagawa nila, manual pa. Ngayon, pwede na electronic, through technology na. And it also saan dito yung sa SEC? It institutionalize yung mga resolutions ng Securities and Exchange Commission para ginawa na nilang batas formally some of the resolutions ng Securities and Exchange Commissions when it comes to its interpretation ng Corporation Code. So yan lang. Basically, ang reason lang bakit ni-revise ang Corp Code is padaliin yung process. Yan lang. Siyempre, for the development of of the country, kung maraming corp, ibig sabihin, business is flourishing. So, with the easement in the formation of such businesses, development for the country ang meaning yan. So, yan. So, sana tayo. And with that, ito yung basically, ito, pinost ko na to sa Google Classroom natin, di ba? Ito, the Republic Act 11232, an act providing for the revised Corporation Code of the Philippines. So, ito na yung magiging basis nyo for the law on corporations nyo until mag-take kayo ng board exam. So, ito yung magiging basis. And it was approved by the President on February 20, 2019 and published yan. So, yan. Ano pa ba yung sabihin ko? So, ito. Ito kasing topic na to, maganda tong gawing maganda to gawing pang recitation ba during classes. However, with the new normal we are facing now, and same din to sa ginawa ko sa partnerships natin, hindi ako nagre-recitation sa inyo, di ba? Hindi ako nagre-recitation sa inyo. Bakit? Kasi napaka-unfair niyan eh. Me, I'm studying law right now. And nag-online classing kami, live online class through Google Meet. And law school yun eh, matindi ang ano yan, matindi ang recitation dyan. Mas matindi pa sa kung ano na-experience nyo sa college. Kasi mga abogado, mga judge ang teacher nyo. With that, napansin ko, hindi siya productive ang recitation through Google, through online eh. Pangit, lalo na kapag yung mga classmates mo o yung mga mga students, pangit yun or hindi stable yung kanilang internet connection. Napaka-unfair. Oo, to the point na yung mga judge, yung mga attorney, naiinis na, napofrustrate sila kasi hindi magandang connection ng internet. Oo, ma-feel mo talaga na napofrustrate na sila. So, basically, pangit ng setting pag ganun eh, pag recitation. Napaka-disadvantageous sa mga pips na hindi maganda yung internet connection. Another reason kung bakit pangit siya is because, siyempre, yung iba sa atin, may mga monitors, doon sila nag-online class. And pagdating ng recitation, usually, di ba sabihin ng teacher niyan, oh, don't look at your books, don't look at your notes, recite to me, etc., etc. Ang estudyante, pwede lang yung mag-acting eh, na hindi tumitingin na sa notes. Bakit? Titingnan niya lang ang monitor niya. Tapos doon niya nababasahin yung pang-recitation niya. Advantage sa kanya. However, marami rin kasi ang gumagamit ng cellphone. Di ba? Ang gumagamit ng cellphone, yung sa screen lang niya is kung ano yung nasa Google Meet. Hindi niya magagamit yung monitor para mabasa yung notes for recitation. So, lugi sila. So that is why, hindi ako nag-recitation sa inyo. Kasi, pointless with this setting. Kawawa. Disadvantageous yung mga naka-cellphone lang. Disadvantageous sa mga mababagal yung or hindi stable yung internet connection. Pero don't worry, kapag, nahulog yung dragonfly. May dragonfly. Saan to nanggaling? Now, with that, siguro naman pagdating sa face-to-face classes natin, expect na pagdating sa law subjects nyo, most especially, na magkakaroon na ng recitations ulit kasi maganda na yung settings eh. Now, ang next law subject nyo is law on credit transactions, law on agency, sales, and credit transaction. Yun yung next law subject nyo and will be basically the last sa new curriculum. Kasi yung sa old curriculum, yung sa amin, 4 yung law subjects namin. Una, obligation and contracts. Pangalawa, law on partnerships and corporations. Pangatlo ata was negotiable instruments. And pangapat will be yung next law subjects nyo, which is the law on agency, sales, and credit transactions. Now, sa new curriculum, basically, parang wala na si negotiable instruments eh. Bakit? Hindi na yan ginagamit sa bar exam nga. Yung sa law. Sa bar exam nga, tinanggal na siya. Parang useless na ba si negotiable instrument? Pero ang plan namin sa department, at least yung intro or yung general idea ng negotin will be introduced sa law on agency sales and credit transactions. Yung lang naman. But anyways, konting chika lang. So that is the reason. Ulitin ko, that is the reason bakit ako hindi nag-online class sa inyo. Hindi ako nagre-recitation kasi napaka unfair, basically ganun. For my classes lang. Kahit sa BAPE 6 and BAPE 7 ko, ganun ako. So, pero expect pagdating ng face to face, yun. We will have fun. Sa law on, sa next law subjects nyo, either si Sir Rise or ako yung magtuturo ng law on sales nyo. Or if ever man walang attorney na gustong kumuha. So anyways, sana tayo. Discussion lang. Now, sa typical for our discussion with the law on corporations, since konti lang yung time natin, ilang weeks na lang ba? Tingnan ko yung calendar ko. Anong araw ngayon? It's December 29. So, 30 to 4, 1 week, 3, 4. Tapos tingnan ko lang 3, 4. Kasi ito yung ano niya eh. Ito yung, kailan to? January, wait lang 18 to 22 yung 18 to 23 pala yung final exam natin. So, 1, 2, 2 weeks. Anong araw ngayon? 29? 3, 4, 5. So, 5 weeks na lang. 5 weeks na lang. Final exam nyo na. So, with that, ibig sabihin, konti lang yung time natin. Kahit pag regular class to, konti lang yung time natin. So, as I have said sa post ko, mga around February 18, first long quiz natin. February 18. Then, sa January, saan yun? January 15, yan. So, may dalawang long quizzes tayo. And don't forget, sinabihan ko na kayo last time pa na obviously since pinagawa ko kayo ng articles of partnership, gagawa rin kayo ng articles of incorporation and other relevant documents. Papagawaan ko kayo ng formation, ipapaform ko kayo ng corporation. Now, as I've said, sa time namin, pinasulat yun sa amin, handwritten lahat sa bond paper. O bond paper yun, wala ka pang guide kung straight line and sa formatting. But for you, wag natin pahirapan electronic, PDF lang. Submit nyo lang sa PDF para goods na. Siyempre, ayusin nyo rin. Bakit ko yung ginagawa? For the articles of partnership and sa formation ng corporation. Para ma-familiarize ba kayo kung paano ginagawa ang isang corporation. Yan lang, basic, di ba? So, ano yung sasabi ko kanina? Yun, may 5 weeks lang tayo before the final exam. And after the final exam, 1 week break. Then, second semester ulit. So, yun yung problema ng semester na ito. Masyadong mabilis. Masyadong mabilis. So, ano ba yung sabihin ko? Nakalimutan ko tuloy. Dami ko sinasabi, no? Ayun, naalala ko na. Kasi, since konti na lang yung oras natin, gagayahin natin yung style ng mga lawyers kapag nagdi-discuss sila ng law subjects sa college. Di ba? Baka familiar kayo dyan kasi nag-oblico naman kayo. Na kung saan, mabilisan sila, di ba? Mabilisan sila. Recitation, mabilisan, konting discussion, etc. etc. Tapos nagsiskip ng mga articles. Sasabihin niya na, okay, you will read this article, blah, 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 blah. Then, the next article, i-discuss niya, then, read this article, blah, blah, blah. Di ba? Nag-skip sila. Parang sinasabi lang nila, dapat binabasa nyo to. Dapat binabasa nyo to. Basically, yan sinasabi nila. Close ko muna to. Nagsa-sound. Tag dito. Yun. So, ganun yung gagawin natin minus the recitation. We will only discuss the important parts. Kasi, as a student, it is your job to read in advance, di ba? Lalo na sa corporation. Swerte kayo na this time, hindi ako nagpapareceipt. Pero of course, because of the situation, and tawag dito, chat, silence ko nga to. Hindi ako nagpapareceipt, so, and may time naman siguro kayo, obviously, para magbasa in advance, para maintindihan nyo yung law subject na to. So, yun, gagaya natin yung style ng discussion ng isang attorney para mapabilis tayo and masiksik natin sa 5 weeks na meron tayo. Kasi kahit na face-to-face class yun, ganun din yung gagawin eh. Yung skip, then discuss the important articles, skip, discuss the important articles. So, with that, we will now start with our discussion with the law on corporation, which for your batch sa board exam will be based on the Republic Act number 11232 promulgated or enacted noong February 2019. Tandaan nyo yung date na yon, importante yon. Kasi minsan sinasama sa board exam. When was the revised Corporation Code of the Philippines was enacted and approved by the President? Yun. February 20, 2019. Yan, kung ano pa yung pangalan ng batas. Anong pangalan ng batas? An act providing for the revised Corporation Code of the Philippines. Yan. Yan. So, ito rin pala. Ito, as I've said, di ba, galing kami sa old code. Old code yung ginamit namin sa board exam. So, with that, inadjust ko yung mga mga provisions, mga changes sa provisions dito para ma-reflect kung ano yung nasa new code, which is this one. So, make sure ko yung mga major provisions na provide na provisions na or na revise na. So yan based yan dito. Pero baka since tao lang din man ako, baka may mga lapses ako na hindi ko pa pala napalitan from the old code na hindi ko pa pala napalitan to provide kung anong sinasabi dito ng new code. So with that, if may napansin kayo, don't hesitate Don't hesitate to inform me na, sir, parang may mali dyan siya. Dapat dapat sabi kasi ng new code, which is this one, ito dapat gawin sir. Sabihin nyo pag may lapses pag may mga misinformations, ayusin natin yan. Kasi baka may mga lapses on my part since galing kami sa old code. Ito yung naging basis ko. Itong document na to, ito yung naging basis ko. Ito yung mga revisions. Ito naman for the innovations ng ginawa ng new code. Ito naman yung mga retentions, yung mga hindi binago. Kasi revise lang naman eh. Ayan na. So with that, we will start with our discussion. Okay, the Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines, Republic Act number 11232. So yan, Title 1, General Provisions, Definitions, and Classifications as provided by the Code. So, Section 1, title of the code, this code shall be known as the Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines. Ito. Yan yung Section 1. The scope of the code. Ito yung scope ng Revised Corporation Code. The Corp Code of the Philippines is an act which provides for the incorporation, organization, and regulation of private corporations, whether stock man yan or non-stock, including educational, and religious corporation. So, it provides for formation niya, ano ang mga kailangan sa kanyang organization, and how to regulate them to follow the laws, kumbaga. It also defines their powers and provides for their dissolution, kung ano mga pwede nilang gawin, and kapag nag-dissolve na sila. Fixes the duties and liabilities of directors or trustees and other officers thereof, and declare the rights and liabilities of stockholders and members. So yan, hindi lang stockholders meron sa corporation, may members rin. Hindi lang board of directors, meron ring trustee. Di ba? Usually kasi ang naririnig nyo lang is stockholders for the corporation, alhamdulillah, yung directors, board of directors, pero may mga corporations rin na trustees instead of board of directors na members ang meron instead of stockholders. So later madidiscuss natin kasi nasa general provisions pa lang naman tayo. Panglima, prescribes the condition under which the corporation, including the foreign ones, may transact business. Provides penalty for violation of the code and repeal all laws and parts of laws in conflict and inconsistent with the code. Anong mapapansin nyo dito? In relation or relative sa ating discussion sa law and partnerships, anong mapapansin nyo? Nag-mental block man ako. Ano napapansin nyo? Na mas stringent, mas stricto ang batas natin when it comes to regulating corporations. Napaka-stricto. Dun sa partnership natin, gaya na sabi ko, napaka-liberal. Hindi stricto ba? Hindi stricto. Pang ino-opposite ka. Napaka-liberal ng regulation sa partnership. Yeah? Napaka-liberal. Pagdating yan sa corporation, yun, napaka-stricto. Parang strict parents. So ito, punta tayo sa section 2. Definition or the corporation defined. A corporation is an artificial being created by operation of law, having the right of succession and powers, attributes, and properties expressly authorized by law or incidental to its existence. Tawag dito. So yan. Basically, ano tong section 2? Well, section 2 has provided for the definition of the corporation. Ito ang definition ng isang corporation. However, this statutory definition refers only to private corporations or to corporations organized under the Corporation Code. So, ito lang private corporations or corporations that is organized under the Corporation Code. So meaning sir, may other types of corporation pa pala. Oo, meron pa. Ito lang, for the corporations, the private ones, and those organized under this code, ito yung definition nila. Pero may mga other types of corporations pa. Ito na, spoiler alert, yung mga government corp, yun, may other definition din sila. Attributes of a corporation. Now, an analysis of the definition in Section 2 reveals the following attributes of a corporation. Ito, provided apat meron. Una, artificial being, created by operation of law, may right of succession, and it only has the powers, attributes, and properties expressly authorized by law or incident to its existence. Ayan. So, created artificial being created by operation of law, may right of succession, powers, attributes, and yan. Attributes. So, we will discuss this isa-isa. Ito, corporation as an artificial personality. Now, doctrinally, a corporation is a legal or juridical person with a personality separate and apart from its individual stockholders or members and from any other legal entity to which it may be connected. Like sa tawag dito? Hindi nyo pa pala to subject, yung mga parents, subsidiary, yan. Yun, basta, hindi nyo pa pala yung subject, no? BAPE 7, BAPE 6 pa yun. Next year nyo pa yun. But anyways, separate from any other legal entity to which it may be connected, yung parent subsidiary, separate yan sila. Ang legal entity nila, it is not in fact and in reality a person, but the law treats it as though it is for a person by process of fiction. Ibig sabihin in idea, in concept. In reality, hindi siya tao. Wala siyang juridical personality. It is not a person. But by process of fiction, idea, concept, that law treats it as a person. Binigyan siya ng juridical personality. The stockholders or members who, as natural persons, are merged in the corporate body, compose the corporation, but they are not the corporation. So may separate identity silang dalawa. Is a legal juridical person. Now, familiar ang concept na to, di ba? Na-discuss na natin to. Saan? Sa partnership. Kapag ginawa ang partnership, itong partnership na to may separate juridical personality separate from the partners. Same yan dito sa corporation. Itong corporation may legal or juridical personality separate and apart from the individual stockholders or members. So may separate siya. May separate na pagkatao. Though hindi natural, artificial nga lang. Kasi ano yung natural? Tayo yun, mga tao. Ginawa tayo tututututut. Itong artificial personality created by operation of law. Batas ang nagsabi. Batas ang nag-provide for its creation. In this case, it's the revised Corp Code of the Philippines. Yun yung nag-provide ng personality ng existence ng corporation. So yan, similar concept yan sa partnership natin. That the partnership has a separate juridical personality from its partners. Yun, basic, di ba? Familiar yung concept. Now, as a consequence of the, wait lang, may nakalimutan akong sabihin. Ito, ang tawag sa doctrine na to, take note of this, is doctrine of corporate personality. Tandaan, ulitin ko, ang tawag sa doctrine na to is doctrine of corporate personality, which pertains to the legal or juridical personality of a corporation that is separate from those who owns it, the members and the stockholders or the stockholders. Yun, may separate siyang pagkatao. Tandaan nyo, doctrine of corporate personality. Now, as a consequence of this legal concept of a corporation, yung pagkakaroon niya ng sariling pagkatao, ito yung mga consequences. So, liability for acts or contracts. So, yung general rule is that the obligations incurred by a corporation acting through its authorized agents, di ba sa partnership, sino yung authorized agents? Kapag unless otherwise stipulated, all the partners. Dito, ang agents niya is usually the boards and officers of the corporation. Now, continue natin. Acting through its authorized agents are its sole liabilities. Ibig sabihin, sa corporation lang, hindi damay ang stockholders and members. Kasi may separate personality sila. Similarly, a corporation may not generally be made to answer for acts or liabilities of its stockholders or members or those of the legal entities to which it may be connected and vice versa. So tatandaan nyo, pinapakita dyan, general rule yan, na yung liabilities for acts of contracts ni corporation, sa kanya lang. Yung liabilities for acts and contracts ni stockholder and ni members, sa kanya lang. Wala silang damayan. Walang pakialamanan. However, that is the general rule. May exception yan. Basically, na exception yan. Sabihin ko na ngayon pa lang. Iyan yung doctrine of piercing the corporate veil. Pero di-discuss natin yan sa next slides. Pero yun yung general rule, ha? Liability for acts and contracts ni Corp sa kanya lang. Liabilities for acts and or contracts ni stockholders or members sa kanya lang. Walang damayan, walang pakialamanan. Right to acquire and possess property. Ito, similar sa partnership natin. It may acquire and possess property of all kinds. Personal man, immovable, real properties, movable. Kasi bakit? May sarili siyang pagkatao eh. May juridical personality yan. Kahit artificial yan, juridical personality pa rin yan. Property conveyed to or acquired by the corporation is in law the property of the corporation itself as a distinct legal entity and not of the stockholders or members as such and vice versa. Di ba? Di ba sir? May claims of ownership yung partners pagdating dyan? Oo. Similar yan dito sa corporation. But similar concept, it is residual interest yung minimin natin. Residual interest. Kasi bakit? Kailangan mo nang masatisfy yung outside liabilities bago masatisfy yung claims ng stockholders or members for the corporation or partners in a partnership. Residual interest lang sila meron dyan. So, ngayon pa lang sinasabi ko na. Pangatlo, property conveyed to or acquired by the corporation is in law the property of the corporation itself as a distinct legal entity and not to stockholder. O same lang. Ano ba yun? Di ba na kayo, no? Nung nag-discuss na rin kayo sa accounting for partnership and corporation. So basically, may idea na kayo. Nakalimutan ko sabihin nung una sa introduction natin. Articles, accounting for partnership and corporations. So that's good. May idea na kayo kung anong mga pinagsasabi ko dito. Kasi yun, yung diniscuss doon is basically for for accounting. Ito naman, yung batas na mismo. So, all contracts entered into its name by its regular appointed officers and agents are the contracts of the corporation and not of those stockholders or members. So, paulit-ulit na lang, di ba? Kasi pinapakita natin dito yung separate personality ng owners and ng corporation. A corporation cannot be held liable for the personal indebtedness of a stockholder even if he should be its president. Kasi president, legal representative, appointed officers and agent yan ng corporation eh. Stockholders' debt or credit is not a debt of the credit corporation. Inulit lang natin yan. Ito, a tax exemption granted to our corporation cannot be extended to include the dividends paid by such corporation to its stockholders. So, I guess, nagdi-discuss na ba kayo ng business tawag dito? May taxation naman siguro kayo, no? Tapos na-discuss nyo ata yun sa dividends part na hindi exempted yung dividends pagdating sa tax. Tinatax rin yan. Kasi income yan eh. Passive income yan ng stockholders. Passive income yan. Panganim, a corporation has no personality to bring action for and in behalf of its stockholders or members for the purpose of recovering property which belongs to said stockholders or members in their personal capacity. Alangan. Bakit mangingialam ang corporation yan? Wala naman sa labot dyan. He can only bring action kapag property niya. Hindi pag personal property ng stockholders or members. Likewise, as an entity distinct from its members or stockholders, a corporation remains unchanged and unaffected in its identity by changes in its individual membership. Remember, pag sa discussion natin sa partnership, di ba? Generally, pag may namatay, o may nag-withdraw o may na-incapacitated na partner or nagkakaroon ng ano no, ng tawag dito, nagkakaroon ng changes in the identity of the partnership, nadi-dissolve siya. 'Di ba? Nadi-dissolve siya kasi may changes sa relationship between the partners. Pagdating sa corporation, wala 'yan. Walang effect 'yan sa corporation kahit magkaroon ng changes in individual membership. The corporation as an artificial person continues to exist as such in like the manner that the river Thames is still the same river to the parts which compose it are changing very instant. So, itong river Thames sa ano yan, sa Great Britain yan, sa England yan. Ito na. Ito na yung sinasabi kong exception sa general rule, which is the separation of the personality of the corporation from its stockholders or members, the owners. Ito yung exception. Itong doctrine of piercing the veil of corporate entity. Now, the doctrine that a corporation is a legal entity, ano yan, doctrine of corporate personality yan, is a legal entity or a person in law distinct from the persons composing it or any other corporation to which it may be related is merely a legal fiction for purposes of convenience and to promote the end of justice. Para mapadali lang yung buhay natin, mapadali yung process. Kaya, nilagyan ng separation of the personality. Kaso may problema. This fiction, therefore, cannot be extended to a point beyond its reason and policy. Bakit? Kasi pag nag-extend dyan beyond reason and policy, dyan na papasok si doctrine of piercing the veil corporate entity. Ano yan, sir? Ito sa next slide. Kailan natin, or when legal fiction to be kailan natin madidisregard ang legal fiction? Tandaan natin, itong legal fiction na yan, ang meaning yan in this concept is the separation of the personality ng corporation from its stockholders or members. That is the general rule, gaya na sabi natin. However, yung general rule na yan, yung legal fiction na yan, pwede yang ma-disregard. Ibig sabihin, baliwalain. Ibig sabihin, the stockholders or members will be treated as one with the corporation. Kailan yan nangyayari? Ito. Being a mere creature of the law, a corporation may be allowed to exist solely for lawful purposes. But where the fiction of corporate entity is being used as a cloak or cover. Yan. Where the fiction of corporate entity is being used as a cloak or cover for fraud or illegality, or to defeat the public convenience, justify wrong, protect fraud, or defend crime, or for ends subversive the fallacy and purpose behind its creation, especially where the corporation is a close family corporation on equitable considerations, this fiction will be disregarded and the individuals composing it or two corporations will be treated as identical. Iisa na lang yung kanilang personality. So, anong pagkakahaba-haba nito? Anong meaning ito? Basically, kapag ginamit mo yung corporate entity sa masasamang bagay, basically, ginamit mo siyang scapegoat, kumbaga, pantakas sa iyong responsibility. Kasi 'di ba? Alam natin na yung liabilities ng corporation separate, general rule, yung liabilities ng corporation separate sa liabilities ng stockholders o members. So isipin niya ng masamang tao, uy, if that's the case, pwede kong gamitin yung corporation para makatakas sa responsibilities, sa liabilities na papasukin ko. Lalo na kapag illegal yan. Pag illegal yan. Kasi hindi nila ako mahahabol yung corporation lang. O yun. Yun yung isipin ng masamang tao. So, to prevent that, diyan napapasok si doctrine of piercing the veil of corporate entity. Use as cloak to cover for fraud or illegality or gagawa ng masama, etc. Basically. Diyan napapasok si doctrine of piercing the veil of corporate entity. Sabi ng batas, sabi ng doctrine, kapag ganyan yung mangyayari, then wala nang legal fiction. Wala nang separation of personality. You will be treated as one. You will be treated as identical. Bakit nandyan yan, sir? To prevent these wrongdoings. Yun lang yun. To prevent these wrongdoings. Kaya nandyan si doctrine of piercing the veil of corporate entity. Tandaan nyo, napakahalaga ng doctrine nito. Lumalabas sa board exam. And any exam na in relation to the corporation code. So yan. Yan yung reason. To prevent wrongdoings. Kaya nandyan si doctrine. In other words, the law will not recognize, to gaya na sabi natin, the separate corporate existence with reference to the particular transactions involved. This non-recognition sometimes referred to as the doctrine of piercing the veil of corporate entity or disregarding the fiction of corporate entity. Ulitin natin, bakit? Kasi ang inisip ng masamang tao, since may separate identity ang isang corporation sa stockholders and owners ito, or members, ang isipin ng masamang tao pwede kong gawing scapegoat kumbaga ang isang corporation na yung corporation lang ang habulin sa mga masamang sa liabilities na nag-cause ng wrongful acts nito. Hindi mahabol, isipin niya ng masamang tao, hindi ako mahabol kasi may tinatawag tayong doctrine of corporate personality, separate legal identity. Now, sabi ng batas, kapag legal yung ginagawa nyo, kapag illegal na yan, kapag masama na yan, kapag wrongdoing na yan, hindi na, wala nang effect yung legal fiction of separate personality. Wala nang effect yung doctrine of corporate personality. Papasok na dyan si doctrine of piercing the veil of corporate entity. You will be treated as identical. You will be treated as one. The owners, the stockholders, the members will be treated as one with the corporation. They will be treated as identical. Why? To prevent wrongdoings. Hahabulin ka kapag may ginawa kang masama. Yun lang yun. So yan. Dapat mag-gets yung concept ng doctrine of piercing the veil of corporate entity. Ito, instances lang. Instances where the doctrine is applied. So, read nyo lang to. Yan. Ito. Another attribute ng corporation. Corporations as a creation of law or by operation of law. So, di ba? This is an artificial being, di ba? Balikan natin yung balikan natin a corporation is an artificial being created by operation of law. Ito, created by operation of law. So, ito. Special authority or grant by the state is required. Anong meaning yan? A corporation is created by law or by operation of law. Anong difference ng dalawang, sir? Anong difference ng by operation of law and created by law? Meaning lang yan. Basahin muna natin. They require special authority or grant from the state. These powers exercised by the state through the legislature, Congress natin yan, lower and upper house, or the lower house and the Senate. Either by special incorporation law or charter which directly creates the corporation, or by means of a general corporation law under which individuals desiring to be and act as a corporation may incorporate. So yan na. Etong created by law, ito yan. Special incorporation law or charter which directly creates the corporation. Etong by operation of law, by means of a general corporation law under which individuals desiring to be may incorporate. So yan yung difference ng dalawa. Ang corporation, generally, you can create it by two ways, generally. Either by created by law or by operation of law. Created by law, ibig sabihin, mayroon talagang batas na kung saan sabi ng batas, itong corporation na to, gagawin natin. This corporation will be formed. This specific corporation will be formed. That is a corporation created by law. May special charter siya, kumbaga, yun yung tinatawag natin. And usually, these corporations are, these corporations are GOCCs. Government-owned and controlled corporation. Government-owned or controlled corporation. Ito yung mga special charters. May specific law na nag-create sa kanila. Ano mga sample niyan? GSIS, SSS, yun. May specific law na nag-create sa kanila. PAGCOR, Philippine Ports Authority. DBP, Development Bank of the Philippines, Land Bank. Yan, may special corporation, may special law na specifically sinabi na this corporation will be created, will be formed. Yan yung corporation created by law. May specific law na ni-legislate na enact for their creation, for their specific creation. Yan yung created by law. Ito namang by operation of law. Ito yan siya. By means of a general corporation law under which individuals desiring to be and act as a corporation may incorporate. Ibig sabihin, this is another way of creating a corporation by operation of law na magpo-provide lang ng isang general corporation law to act as a guidance, to act as a regulator on how individuals will form a corporation, on how they will operate a corporation, on how it will be regulated, on how it will dissolve. Parang nag-provide lang ba ng guidelines. Pero itong guidelines na to mandatory. So hindi lang siya guidelines, pero yung concept niya is parang guidelines. Na itong created by law, may specific law. Itong by operation of law, parang nag-provide ng guidelines ang batas, mandatory guidelines, para yung ibang tao, on their own, makakreate ng corporation. So yan yung by operation of law. And itong sa bansa natin, in the Philippines, itong by means of a general corporation law, for our country, ito na yung Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines, Republic Act number 11232. Ito na yun. Ito yung general corporation law natin. Dati, sa batch namin, before February 2019, it's the Batas Pambansa bilang 68, the new Corporation Code of the Philippines. For your batch, ito na, Republic Act 11232 na. So yan na, tandaan natin, created by law, may specific na batas, may specific na act na ginawa yung Congress na enacting for the formation of a specific corporation. Sample, SSS, PAGCOR, etc. etc. By operation of law, ibig sabihin yung batas nag-provide ng guidelines on how other individuals will be able to create a corporation on their own with the regulatory authority of the government. Yan. And in our country, that's the Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines, Republic Act 11232. So yan, know the difference. Now, as we have said, that is the general rule, that there are two ways. May exception naman. General rule Alam natin, for general rules, there's always an exception. And what is that exception? An exception to the rule that legislative grant authority is necessary for the creation of a corporation obtains with respect to corporations by prescription. Anong meaning ng prescription? Basically, itong prescription, it is in relation to a passage of time. Passage of time na through the passage of time, you will gain rights, you will gain ownership, kumbaga. Through passage of time, you will gain rights, you will gain ownership. Like ito, example lang. Sa batas natin, the Land Act, nakalimutan ko yung Land Act, as long itong specific na lupa below, generally you can own it after living in that lupa, after tumira ka sa lupa na yan for 30 years. Kapag walang nagki-claim na may-ari, pwede kang tumira dyan, generally. Then after 30 years, sa'yo na yan. So that is an ownership through prescription, passage of time. Now, through that passage of time, you will gain ownership, you will gain right over that piece of land. 30 years, tumira ka dyan, magiging sa'yo yan, generally. Ngayon, ito naman, this is in relation to the creation of a corporation. Na kahit na walang legislative grant or authority for its creation, it will be treated as a corporation through the passage of time. Sa tagal-tagal ng panahon, trinato na siyang corporation. So yun, I hope na gets nyo. Basically, that's prescription. It is in relation to the passage of time na afterwards, magkakaroon ka na ng right, magkakaroon ka na ng ownership. Or mawawalan ka ng right, mawawalan ka ng ownership. Yan. Malalaman nyo yan pagdating nyo sa law school. So, anong example niyan, sir, para mas magets natin? Catholic Church, yung organization na, not the religion. The Catholic Church dito sa Philippines, na sa pagkatagal-tagal na nandito yung Catholic Church since the Spanish era. Dahil to the passage of time, trinato na siyang corporation by prescription, passage of time. Kasi sa tagal-tagal na nandito ng Catholic Church organization sa bansa natin, through prescription, by prescription, trinato na siyang corporation. So yan, I hope naintindihan nyo. So to, corporation of creation of law or by ang corporation generally naka-create in two ways, created by law, operation of law. Exception, by prescription. Sample niyan, Catholic Church. Ito naman. Pangatlong attribute ng corporation. The right of succession. Succession. Yeah. The right of succession. Now, meron ba tayong succession sa partnership? Generally, wala, di ba? Sa corporation, meron. A corporation has a capacity of continuous existence irrespective of the death, withdrawal, or insolvency or incapacity of the individual stockholders or members and regardless of the transfer of their interest or shares of stock. Basically, merong perpetual existence ang isang corporation. Pero hindi sa immortal. May perpetual existence pero hindi sa immortal. Tandaan yan. So, as you can see, death, withdrawal, insolvency, kahit yung mga owners ng corporation, the stockholders or members, kahit may mamatay dyan, kahit may mag-withdraw dyan, insolvency, incapacity, or mag-transfer ng interest, it will not change, it will not dissolve the corporation. Unlike sa partnership, di ba? Pag may namatay, pag may nag-withdraw, dissolve ang partnership. Sa corporation, hindi ganun eh. Hindi ganun. May perpetual existence siya. So, di ba, isa yan sa mga advantages ng isang corporation, yung perpetual existence. Now, under the revised Corp Code, a corporation shall have perpetual existence unless its article of incorporation provides otherwise. So, ibig sabihin, sa old Corp kasi, yung Batas Pambansa bilang 68, it is provided na 50 years lang yung buhay ng isang corporation na you can renew. You can renew. 50 years lang pero you can renew. Now, dito sa Revised Corporation Code, tinanggal na tong 50 years. Binigyan na ng perpetual existence unless otherwise provided sa Articles of Incorporation. So, pag sinabi ng Articles of Incorporation na 30 years lang, edi 30 years lang. Pero pag wala, hindi provided sa Articles of Incorporation, then it's a perpetual existence. Corporations created by special laws, gaya ng sinabi natin kanina, yung SSS, GSIS, have the right of succession for the term provided in the laws creating them. Yun. Right of succession. So, yun. Sinasabi natin. Kahit anumang mangyari sa owners, sa stockholders, sa members ng corporation, withdraw, insolvency, etc., it will not affect the existence of the corporation. Hindi yan madidissolve. Diyan pa rin yan. Isa yan sa mga advantage ng isang corporation over the partnership, di ba? So, break muna. Okay. So, 48 minutes yun. Haba-haba rin nun. So, continue tayo with our discussion. Kasi mahaba talaga itong articles, itong corporation code natin. So, ito. Let's continue. Na-discuss na natin yung a corporation being an artificial being created by a law and yung kanyang right of succession. Now, let's go to the other attribute or the last attribute sa definition ng isang corporation under this code, which is the corporation having the powers, attributes, and properties. Now, a corporation being purely a creation of law, either by created by law or by operation of law, may exercise only such powers as are granted by the law of its creation. By the law of its creation, whether that's a special law or a corporation with a special charter or using a general corporation law. It can only exercise yung mga powers na was granted to that corporation. Now, may dalawa yan. An express grant and an implied grant. Ang unexpressed grant, however, is not necessary. All powers which may be implied from those expressly provided by law and those that are incidental or essential to the corporation existence may also be exercised. So later on, makikita nyo sa later discussions natin, may tatlong powers meron ng isang corporation. Express, implied, and incidental. Ito yun, express, implied, and incidental. Now, anong difference sila? Ito lang short note about these powers ng isang corporation, pero later i-discuss natin yan in depth. Ang express grant, ito yung kung ano yung nakalagay sa ipit sa corporation created by law, kung ano yung nasa special charter niya, which is the law of its creation. Kung ano nakalagay doon na powers siya, expressly, yun, tinype doon, yun yung express power ng isang corporation. Now, when it comes to a corporation created by a general corporation law, which is in our country, it's the revised Corp Code, yung express powers niya is kung ano yung nakalagay, ano yung nakalista sa articles of incorporation niya. Kung anong nakalista doon na powers ng corporation, yun yung kanyang express power. Kasi express stated. Now, may mga tinatawag din tayong implied from those expressly provided and yung mga incidental. Basically, ito yung mga hindi stated sa articles of incorporation or doon sa special charter ng corporation created by law. Pero, they are essential for the existence and operation of the corporation. Itong si implied or essential. Anong example, sir? Bigay kayo. Okay, ito, express. Pero later on, didiscuss din naman natin to. Pero ngayon, para maintindihan nyo lang yung concept. Yung express, like for example, a corporation was incorporated for doing construction. Yun yung kanyang express power. Or ilalagay mo sa articles of incorporation niya, yung express power niya is mag-construct ng building, roads, basta magagawa ng construction business. Ngayon, etong si construction corporation, since yung express power niya lang nakalagay is mag-construct, makakabili ba siya ng materials for that construction? Makakabili ba siya ng properties para doon itayo yung office nila? Ang sasabihin ng ibang tao, hindi sir, hindi naman nakalagay sa Hindi naman nakalagay sa kanyang articles of incorporation. Bakit siya bibili ng mga materials? Nonsense, di ba? So, para magkaroon ng sense, para ma-perform ng corporation na yun, ng construction corporation na yun, yung kanyang express power, which is to construct, sabi ng batas, it provided it with the implied and incidental powers para magawa niya yung kanyang express power. Para magkaroon siya ng operation. Anong may example niyan? Example, gaya na sabi natin, kahit na yung kanyang express power is to construct, pwede pa rin siyang makabili ng materials na gagamitin niya sa construction. Pwede pa rin siya makabili or mag-lease ng property para doon magtayo ng office nila. Doon itambak yung mga materials nila. So, those are implied and incidental powers. Yun. Example lang. So, pwede discussin natin later on yung tatlong powers na yan. The test to be applied is whether the act of a corporation is in direct and immediate furtherance of its business, fairly incidental to the express powers, and reasonably necessary to their exercise if so the corporation has the power to do it, otherwise it not. So, ito, ito mga examples to ng powers, attributes, or properties ng corporation. So, basahin nyo na lang. Ito, mga example yan. So, ito, let's go to the distinction between a partnership and a corporation, di ba? Nung natin, sa law on partnerships natin, na-discuss natin yung distinction na dalawa. So, repeat lang ito. So, the following are the distinctions of a partnership and a corporation. Kahit nga sa accounting for partnership and corporation, na-discuss itong distinction ng dalawang to. So, ito, manner of creation. A partnership created by mere agreement, whether written man yan or orally, with the certain regulations provided by law. Ang corporation, di lang yan makakreate basta-basta by agreement. It is created by law or by operation of law. Stricto yan. Now, gaya na sabi ko kanina, makikita nyo or ma-realize nyo na napaka-liberal ng batas natin when it comes to partnerships. Pagdating sa corporation, napaka-stricto niya. Number po yung corporator sa partnership may be organized by only 2 persons. 2 or more. Partnership nga, di ba? Yan. Sa corporation naman, dati, ito, isa to sa mga changes ng corporation natin, ng corporation code. Dati kasi ang corporation can only be created or incorporated, yun yung term sa pag-create ng corporation, incorporated at least 5 incorporators, maximum 15. So, between 5 to 15 persons, yun yung pwedeng mag-incorporate ng corporation. Ngayon, sa revised corp code natin, kahit isang tao na lang, pwedeng mag-create, pwede mag-form ng corporation. Ang tawag ata doon, single corporation. Parang tayo lang. Basta, sa corporation, kahit isang single stockholder na lang, single incorporator, pwede. Yan. Easement, di ba? Pampadali ng process ng formation ng corporation. Commencement of juridical personality. Partnership commence or to acquire juridical personality, ibig sabihin may separate existence sa separate legal personality from the moment of the execution of the contract of partnership. Sa corporation naman, nagkakaroon lang siya ng juridical personality only on the date of the issuance of the certificate of incorporation by the Securities and Exchange Commission under its official seal. So, meaning lang nito, yung Securities and Exchange Commission kasi siya yung nagre-regulate sa mga corporations natin, lalo na sa kanyang formation and their operations, itong si Securities and Exchange Commission. Ngayon, ang isang corporation, generally, hindi yan magkakaroon ng juridical personality kapag walang approval ni Securities and Exchange Commission. Kasi itong si corporation, itong mga incorporators, magsasabit yan sila ng application nila, mga documents nila sa Securities and Exchange Commission. And upon approval by the SEC and it issuing the certificate of incorporation, then magkakaroon na ng juridical personality itong corporation na yan. Yan. So yan tandaan nyo, sa partnership, kung kailan na-execute yung contract, sabi ng contract, okay, doon may juridical personality. Sa corporation, kailangan may approval yan ng SEC through the issuance ng Certificate of Incorporation. So, di ba sabi ko, stricto yan ang batas natin pagdating sa corporation. Powers naman, ang partnership may exercise any power authorized by the partners as long as it is not contrary to lamok POPs. Anong lamok POPs, sir? Law, morals, good custom, public orders, or public policy. So, yan yung shortcut ng ito yung abbreviation na maganda gamitin for lamok POPs. Kasi, may encounter nito parati itong si law, morals, good customs, public order, and public policy. Lamok POPs ang magandang itawag dyan. While a corporation can exercise only, okay, the powers expressly granted by law or implied from those granted or incident. So, as you can see, sa partnership, as long as hindi labag sa batas, sa moral, sa customs, sa public order, sa public policy, pwedeng ma-exercise ng partnership. Sa batas, or pagdating naman sa corporation, stricto Kung ano yung expressly granted and those implied and incidental to those express power, yun lang yung pwedeng gawin ng corporation. So, napaka-stricto, no? Management. Sa partnership, when the management is not agreed upon, every partner is an agent. Unless, di ba? Unless otherwise stipulated sa articles of partnership, lahat ng partners agent. While in a corporation, the power to do business is vested in the board of directors or board of trustees. Itong board of directors sa mga stock corporations yan. Sa trustees naman, board of trustees sa non-stock. For example, sa Ateneo. Ano yan sila Tawag ito? Yung Ateneo, yung ADZU, board of trustees yan sila meron. Sa WIMSO rin meron, di ba? Board of trustees. Sila yung pumipili ng president. So, effect of mismanagement. Another distinction nila dalawa. Sa partnership, a partner as such can sue a co-partner for his mismanagement. Diba? Na-discuss natin yan. While sa corporation naman, the suit against the member of the board of directors, trustees, who mismanages must be in the name of the corporation. In the name of the corporation. Ibig sabihin, you're representing the corporation. Because of this mismanagement ng director and trustee, that mismanagement has been injurious. May adverse effect sa corporation. Kasi, since may adverse effect sa corporation, then the suit against the board of directors or trustees should be in the name of the corporation. Kasi si corporation being a separate legal entity, siya yung nagkaroon ng injury. Not necessarily yung injury nagkasugat, Injury in the concept of law. May adverse effect. So yan. Sa partnership, against the partner, sue co-partner in his capacity. Sa corporation, in the name of the corporation. Right of succession, na-discuss natin sa partnership wala kasi anything that will, any changes in the membership ng mga partners, dissolve. Wala corporation, may karapatan sa right of succession. Extent of liabilities to third person sa partnership. The partners, discuss natin to, mga partners, except the limited partner, liable personally and subsidiarily, sometimes solidarily kapag may bad faith or negligence for partnership debts to third person. Discuss natin yan. While sa corporation, stockholders are liable only to the extent, generally generally, stockholders are liable only to the extent of the investment as represented by the shares subscribed to them. Kasi pag nagkaroon ng doctrine of piercing the corporate veil, yun, di ba? Pag may wrongdoings, yan. Pwede ring ma-extend yung liability to the stockholders. But that is an exception. Exception yun. Ang general rule is the doctrine of corporate personality. Oh. Pero pag nagkaroon ng ng wrongdoings, yun, pwede nang matreated as one. Pwede nang habulin yung mga stockholders na may masamang ginawa. Transferability of interest. In a partnership, a partner cannot transfer his interest in the partnership so as to make the transferee a partner without the consent of all the other existing partners because the partnership is based on the principle of delectus personarum or delectus personae. If you can still remember, anong delectus personae? It is the right of the person to choose to whom he shall be associated with. Ulit natin, it is the right of the person to choose to whom he shall be associated with. So karapatan mong pumili kanino gusto ma-associate. Yun lang si delectus personam. Kaya hindi basta, discuss natin to, hindi basta-bastang magkakaroon ng papasok ng bagong partner sa partnership unless walang consent ng ibang partners. Okay lang, a little recap, that is for general partnership, di ba? Pero pagdating natin sa limited partnership, as we have discussed, yung sa substituted limited partner, di ba? Yung substituted limited partner, pwede siya maging without the dissolution of the partnership, pwede siyang pumasok as long as that right or that concept is in the articles of limited partnership. Di ba? If na-discuss nyo. So, this only pertains to the general partnership. Pagdating sa limited partnership, may ibang pina-follow. Kasi limited partnership, special siya. So, if you can still remember our lesson. Pagdating naman sa stock corporation, tandaan nyo, stock corporation, stockholder has the right to transfer shares without the prior consent of the other stockholders because a corporation is not based on the delectus personarum or delectus personae principle. Right of succession. Term of existence, a partner may be established for a period of time with the partners, either partnership at will or partnership at a fixed term. Sa corporation naman, may perpetual existence under the device corp code unless otherwise provided. So yan. Firm name, limited partner required by law to add the word limited to its name, while a corporation may adopt any firm name provided not identical or deceptively similar to any registered firm name or contrary to existence law. Later madidiscuss natin yan. Dissolution. Partnership may be dissolved at any time by the will of any of all the partners, while a corporation can only be dissolved with the consent of the state. O yan na. Didiscuss natin to sa sections dito pa. Basically, sa partnership, okay, goods. Kung gusto nila mag-dissolve, dissolve. Generally. Kasi minsan, kailangan ng court approval, di ba? Nadaan pa sila sa korte pag nagkaroon ng away-away. But generally, pwede nilang ma-dissolve agad-agad. Pagdating sa corporation, hindi basta-basta ma-dissolve. Kailangan muna ng consent from the state. State, government. Government, Securities and Exchange Commission. Kailangan muna ng approval nila bago ma-dissolve yung corporation. Laws which govern partnership by the civil code as we have discussed. Corporation, corporation code. For private corporations, the revised Corp Code of the Philippines, Republic Act 11232. For the special corp, for the corporations with special charter, big sabihin they were created by special laws specifically enacted for their existence, then they will be governed by those laws. Etong corp code will only act as a supplementary. Supplementary meaning pang support lang, pang additional lang. But those special corporations created by created by special charters, which is special laws that was enacted for their for their incorporation, for their formation, yun yung magre-regulate sa kanilang yun yung mag-govern sa kanila, magre-regulate sa kanila. Etong corporation code natin, magiging supplementary na lang sa kanila. But those corporations that were created by operation of law using the revised Corp Code of the Philippines will be governed by the corporation code. So yan, difference lang nila. Ito, similarities between a corporation and a partnership. Kanina, we have discussed the distinction. So ito, similarities naman tayo. Sa partnership, a partnership and a corporation, may juridical personality sila that is separate and distinct from that of the individuals composing them. Sa partnership, partners. Corporation, stockholders or members. Partnership and corp can only act through its agents sa partnership unless otherwise provided in the articles of partnership. Every partner is an agent. Sa corporation, the directors, the members, the agents, the officers. Partnership and corporation, except a corporation sole. An example of a corporation sole is the Catholic Church of the Philippines, headed by the Archbishop. Is an organization composed of an aggregate of individuals. Oh, ito rin, may na to. Not necessarily to. Okay, ito na isa sa mga typo. Bakit? Kasi ang corporation, hindi lang basta-basta sa corporation code, hindi lang ito exception. Meron, provided na rin sa corp code natin, sa revised corp code ng corporation, pwede nang makreate kahit ng isang stockholder. Ibig sabihin, isang incorporator, isang tao. So ito, may, tawag dito, hindi na to applicable somehow kasi discuss naman natin dito. Manner of creation. Distinction. Ito, discuss naman natin dito. So, yan. Parang hindi to applicable kasi ang corporation, ang partnership, at least 2 persons, di ba? Corporation, wala tong exception by corporation sole kasi hindi na yan exception eh. Provided na sa batas na kahit isang tao, isang stockholder, pwede nang gumawa ng corporation. Like a partnership, saan yun tayo? Like a partnership, a stock corporation distributes its profit kasi ang non-stock, hindi yan. Ang stock corporation, for profit talaga yun sila. Distributes its profit to those who contribute capital to the business, although an industrial partner also shares in the partnership profit. So, yung similarities nila. Another similarity, is like a partnership, a corporation can be organized only when there is a law authorizing its organization. Ano yung meaning yan? To organize a corporation or a partnership that could claim juridical personality of its own and transact business as such is not a matter of absolute right but a privilege which may be enjoyed only under such terms as the state may deem necessary to impose. As we have said, sa partnership, it's the civil code. Sa corporation, either by the special law that created it or by the revised corporation code of the Philippines. Lastly, a partnership. Okay, wala tong 12 na yan. Typo yan. No matter how created or organized is taxable as a corporation subject to income tax. So yan, similarities sila. Let's go to the advantages ng isang business corporation. Ito, discuss naman to. The corporation has a legal capacity to act and contract as a distinct unit kasi doctrine of corporate personality in its own name. Pangalawa, it has continuity of existence because of the non-dependence on the lives of those who compose it. Right of succession yan. Its credit is strengthened by such continuity of existence. Ano itong credit, sir? Yan yung sa yung sa credit rating ba, kumbaga, on how well you manage the business and your liabilities. O, since ang partnership kasi delikado yan eh. Bakit? Volatile. Yun. Volatile yung niyan, yung membership niyan. Magkaroon lang isang change in relationship between the members, between the partners, boom, dissolve. Tapos yun. Basically, volatile yung continuity of existence ng isang partnership. Sa corporation, perpetual existence. So maganda yung credit niya. Isipin niya ng lender o nagpautang, creditor, na maganda magpautang sa corporation as instead to the partnership. In this sense kasi, itong corporation na to, mas may assurance na continue yan. Tatagal yan long term. Ang partnership, volatile yung ano niyan eh. Yung relationship between the members, yung existence niya. Pero of course, you can counter this advantage by stating na yung partners pwede mga habol personally kapag wala nang properties to pay yung partnership. So yan, additional note lang. Now, yung management daw ng corporation is centralized under the board of directors or the board of trustees. Its creation, organization, management, and dissolution are standardized as they governed under one general corporation law, which is the Republic Act 11232. Another advantage ng doing business as a corporation, it makes feasible gigantic financial undertakings. It enables many individuals to invest their separate funds in the enterprise in order to furnish large amount of capital upon which big business depends. Isa yan sa mga advantage ng corporation. Kasi sa partnership, kung hanggang saan lang yung makakaya ng mga partners, yung mga partners usually hindi yan sila marami. So yung capital nila, hindi ganoon kalaki. Pagdating sa corporation, ang corporation malaking business yan. Usually. Pag malaking business yan, ibig sabihin there are numerous entities na tawag dito, na mag-invest yan. Malaking business eh. So since malaking business, maraming mag-invest, malaki yung magiging capital niyan. So marami siyang pwedeng pasukan na financial undertakings, mga investment as compared to a partnership. So that is an advantage of a corporation. Mas malaki yung capital, yung available capital na pwede niyang gamitin. Another advantage is that shareholders have limited liability. Yan. Because of doctrine of corporate personality. Sa partnership kasi pwedeng mahabol eh. Unlimited liability sila, mga partners. They are not general agents of the business, and the shares of stock can be transferred without the consent of other stockholders. Ito naman, however, may disadvantages rin ang pag-doing business being a corporation. The corporation's relatively complicated information and management considering its size. Malaki kasi ang corporation eh. And stricto sa kanyang batas as compared to a partnership. It entails relatively high cost of formation and operation due to its size, of course. And sa formation kasi stringent yung batas. Maraming kailangang requirements. Malalaman yun mamaya. Later discussions. Kasi general provisions pa lang tayo. Title 2 ata yun sa formation. Its credit is weakened by limited liability of stockholders. Ito yung sasabi natin kanina, yung pang-counter dito. So, na-balance out. Kasi, limited liability lang eh. Pagdating sa partnership, pwede mong mahabol personally yung partners. There is ordinarily lack of personal element in view of the transferability of shares. Kasi kahit sino-sino na lang yun eh. Kung sinong makabibili, di bibili yan ng shares ng corporation. Sa partnership, may personality yan eh. Kasi sila lang yung may control. Sila yung may-ari. Kukunti lang sila. So, may personal element yan in view. May personal stake ba sila over that, yung mga partners? Sa corporation, for them, that is just an investment. There's a greater degree of governmental control and supervision than any other form of business organization. Kukunti sa sole proprietorship, kukunti sa partnership, stricto pagdating sa corporation ng government control and supervision. Yung regulatory authority over the corporation by the government, napaka-stricto yan sa kanila. In large corporation, management and control are separated from ownership. Bakit? Kasi usually, di ba? Kahit hindi ikaw yung may major controlling interest sa corporation, ikaw pa rin yun, nagiging CEO, nagiging president ng corporation. Bakit? Kasi, di ba, if you will watch the news, yung mga CEO, pinapalitan lang kung sino yung appropriate para mag-control, not basically kung sino yung may malaking ownership, but kung sino yung may capability to run the corporation. So, unlike sa partnership, di ba, management and control is not separate from the ownership as provided by the articles of incorporation. Sa large corporation, Because of its size, yun, kailangan na ng ano eh, na yung management and control kayang kontrolin, kayang patakbohin yung corporation. And that capacity is not based on how much they own, but based on their skills. Kung kaya ba nilang patakbuhin yung corporation. The stockholders' voting rights have become theoretically particularly in large corporation because of the use of proxies and widespread ownership. Ano meaning nito? Kasi sa corporation, ah kung sino yung may majority ownership, basically parang kinokontrol niya yung corporation eh. Or sino yung group na nagrupo-grupo sila and cumulatively yung majority of ownership, majority control over the corporation, stockholders, voting rights napunta sa kanila. So parang nasasayang rin yung ownership mo over that. So that is a disadvantage. Lalo na pag naggrupo-grupo yung mga ibang stockholders, then from that grouping, naging majority ownership sila sa voting rights. Aba. So yan, no? Kaya theoretically, particularly in large corporation, because of the use of proxies and widespread ownership. So walang ano. Lastly, the stockholders have little voice in the conduct of the business. As we have said, stockholders does not necessarily mean na magiging board of directors din sila or agents, officers of the corporation. Sa partnership, may voice sila. Sa partnership, ang mga partners, lalo na yung mga lalo na unless otherwise stipulated kung sino yung magmamanage, may voice sila sa conduct of business ng corporation ng partnership. Pagdating sa corporation, ang stockholder, residual interest lang sa meron dyan. Ang nagpapatakbo talaga yung board of directors and the officers and agents of the corporation. Kaya, stockholders, little voice in the conduct of the corporation. So that is for our section 2, which basically talks about the definition ng isang corporation under this code. So with that, break ulit. So okay. So nakakaantok talaga ang discussion ng law subjects, lalo na kapag lumalampas na ng 1 hour. Don't worry, that's very normal. Kahit pagdating nyo sa review nyo, after 1 hour ng discussion, same sa college, nakakaantok na ang discussion sa law. So with that, buti na lang dito sa format natin, you have your freedom to take breaks kasi pwede nyo lang i-pause yung videos. And kahit ako inaantok na sa discussion kasi more than 1 hour na. But let us continue with our discussion. Ito, natapos natin yung section 1, section 2. Let's go to section 3 ng Republic Act 11232. So ano ba itong section 3? Now, section 3 talks about the classes of corporation. Sabi dito, corporations formed or organized under this code may be stock or non-stock. So take note, under this code, na it will be either stock or non-stock. Now, stock corporations are those which have capital stock divided into shares and are authorized to distribute to the holders of such shares dividends or allotments of the surplus profits on the basis of the shares held. All other corporations are non-stock corporation. So, from this section pa lang, from these provisions, you can already say na this corporation code was provided for two classes of corporation. Now, if you'll remember your accounting for partnership and corporations, basically yung in-account nyo for the corporation are stock corporations kasi sila lang yung may shares. Yung non-stock, wala. All other corporations are non-stock corporation. Classifications of corporation as provided under this code. Dalawa. Gaya na sabi natin, stock and non-stock. Ang non-stock corporation is the ordinary business corporation created and operated for the purpose of making a profit, which may be distributed in the form of dividends to stockholders on the basis of their invested capital. So, a stock corporation, ginawa siya for the purpose of earning profit, and that profit is to be distributed in the form of dividends to the stockholders kung saan sila yung nag-invest ng kanilang capital to the corporation. Sounds familiar, di ba? Parang partnership lang. But this is a different form of business. Now, take note that the two elements mentioned in Section 3 must be present in order to make a private corporation fall under the definition of stock corporation. So itong dalawang element na to, may capital stock divided into shares and are authorized to distribute to the holders of that shares dividends or allotment of the surplus of profits on the basis of the share held. So itong dalawang elements na to, they must be present in order to properly classify a private corporation as a stock corporation. Kasi, as provided here, all other corporations are non-stock. So those corporations that do not fall within this definition of a stock corporation, they shall be considered as a non-stock corporation. Unlike stock corporations, non-stock corporations do not issue stock and distribute dividends to their members. So yan. You can already determine. Kapag stock, stockholders ang may-ari dyan. Kapag non-stock, members ang tawag sa kanila. Now, these non-stock corporation are created not for profit. Kasi si stock for profit yan eh. Pero pagdating kay non-stock, they are created not for profit, but rather for public good and welfare. So yun, gusto nila pumunta sa langit. De joke lang. They are created for the purpose of public good and welfare. Of these characters are most of the charitable, religious, social, literary, scientific, civic, and political organizations and societies. Non-stock corporations are governed by Title 11, which is later on pa yan, of the code. So yung mga next discuss natin, basically there are for stock corporations. Later on pa, under Title 9, or Title 11, yung mapapag-usapan yung non-stock corporation. So you can take note, stock corporation, for profit sila, si non-stock, not for profit but rather for public good and welfare. And these corporations, usually mga charitable, religious, social, literary, scientific, civic, and other political organizations and society. So yan. Yan yung dalawang classifications ng isang corporation as provided in this code. However, there are also other classifications ng corporations. Ito, enumerate natin sila isa't isa. Una, as to number of persons who compose them. Corporation aggregate or a corporation consisting of more than one member or corporation. Now, ito take note, when forming a corporation, a private corporation, usually, not usually, dati sa old code, you need at least 15, at least 5 or at least 5, maximum 15 of incorporators. Na itong incorporators, ito yung mga taong nag-form ng corporation. Sila yung unang stockholders or sila yung unang members ng corporation. Now, corporation aggregator corporation are those corporations consisting of more than one member or corporator. On the other hand, corporation sole or a special form of corporation usually associated with the clergy. Under the code, it is a religious corporation which consists of one member or corporator only and his successor siya sa bishop. Ito sa Philippines, Roman Catholic Church. Na-discuss natin ito kanina. Nasabi natin kanina. Dito, corporation sole, the Roman Catholic Church is a good example. Now, sir, di ba meron na tayong tinatawag na one-person corporation sa new code? Yun. Kaya medyo disregard na tong classifications na to or pwede nyong dagdagan. Kasi sa ating new code, sa revised corporation code, pwede natin lagyan ng C dito. C, one person corporation. Meaning, kahit isang tao na lang, pwede siyang magtayo ng corporation. Pwede siyang mag-form ng corporation. Kahit isang stockholder lang. Siya yan. Siya lang mag-isa. Sanay naman siya mag-isa siguro, kaya siya nag-form ng mag-isa ng corporation, di ba? Pero under the revised Corp code, meron na tayong pwede nang mag-form, mag-incorporate ng corporation ang isang tao, isang stockholder. So yan, pwede na. Yay, happy na siya. Kasi dati hindi pwede. Kasi dati, sa old code, minimum of 5, maximum of 15 ang number of persons na pwedeng mag-form ng corporation. And dati, natural persons lang. Ngayon, pwede na kahit juridical persons such as associations, corporations, partnerships. Pwede na silang mag-form ng corporation. Dati hindi yan pwede. Dati natural persons lang. Pero ngayon, gaya ng sabi natin, mas pinadali yung pag-form ng corporation with the revised Corporation Code of the Philippines. So kahit mga juridical persons, mga artificial yan sila, di ba? Pwede na silang mag-form ng kanilang corporation. A corporation, association, partnership. So yan na, mas napadali, di ba? Ngayon, punta tayo sa pangalawang other classification. As to whether they are for religious purposes or not. Now, ecclesiastical, ito, mahirapan pa mag-pronounce ito dati. Ecclesiastical corporation, lalo sa spelling ba? Yung identify, yung enumerate. Anong spell ang ecclesiastical? Chicken, di ba? Ecclesiastical corporation or one organized for religious purposes, Roman Catholic Church. Under the code, religious corporations classified into corporations, soul and religious societies. Yan, mga other religions. Other religious organizations, yun, religious societies. Ang corporation soul, Roman Catholic Church yan. So, ecclesiastical, from the word itself, organized for religious purposes. So, on the other hand, lay corporations or the one organized for purposes other than for religion. So, si ecclesiastical for religious, si lay, parang yung ano no, yung potato chips, si lay, it was organized for purposes other than for religion. Then to sing lay corporations, pwede mo pa ito sa subdivided into two. Either eleemosynary or civil. Now, ano to sa dalawa? Ito, sa number 3 sila. As to whether they are for charitable purposes or not. Si eleemosynary corporation or one that is established for or devoted to charitable purposes or supported by charity. O yan, si eleemosynary. It was organized para sa charitable purposes basically. Ano mga example yan? Mga foundations. Lalo yung ABS-CBN Foundation, so yung mga dog foundation, ano yun doon? People for against or people for welfare of animals, nakalimutan ko. PETA, yun, they were organized for charitable purposes. On the other hand, civil corporations or those corporations established for business or profit, i.e. with a view toward realizing gains to be distributed among its members, stockholders, owners. So yan. Ngayon, let's go to as to state under or by whose laws they have been created. So, saang state sila na-create? Domestic corporations, ito yung mga corporations that was incorporated under the laws of the Philippines. Either by special law, for their special charter, or under a general corporation law, which in this case is the revised Corp Code of the Philippines. So pag ganun, domestic corp yan sa nila. Kapag under ng law ng Philippines. On the other hand, may tinatawag tayong foreign corporation or one formed, organized, or existing under any laws other than those of the Philippines. Ibig sabihin, sa ibang bansa sila na-form, na-incorporate. It includes multinational corporations created under the laws of another state. Ito, madidiscuss natin dito. Sir, mga foreign corporations pa pwedeng mag-do business here in the Philippines? Pwede. Pwede silang mag-do business in the Philippines, but we will later pa natin i-discuss. Later provisions, particularly dito section 1, 2, 3. Now, yes, ang foreign corporations pwedeng mag-business dito sa Philippines. Anong mga requirements, sir? Later pa yan. For tax purposes, a foreign corporation is further classified into resident or non-resident. Ito, alam ko familiar na kayo dito. Sa tax ito, di ba? Sa income taxes na to. Yung resident, non-resident. Another classification is as to their legal right to corporate existence. Ito, alam nyo na ang de jure and ang de facto. De jure corporations are a corporation existing in fact and in law. However, on the other hand, de facto corporation are a corporation. Bakit ang daming naglalabas laway? Alam mo, naglalaway bigla bunganga mo. De facto corporation are a corporation existing in fact but not in law. So yan, difference sa dalawa. Difference. Usually ito may ano to. Si de facto usually, section 21 pa yun siya. Pero usually ito yung may defect sa ano niya. Sa requirements. But they are operating in fact properly as a corporation. Si de jure, walang problema sa kanyang application, sa kanyang requirements, and they are operating in fact as a corporation. Now, as to whether they are open to public or not, mayroon parang ganun, sir. Oo. May tinatawag tayong closed corporation, may tinatawag tayong open corporation. Si closed corporation or one which is limited to selected persons or members of the family. Ibig sabihin, limitado lang kung sinong pwede maging stockholder dyan o mga members yan. A good example of that, yung smart ata, yung smart, yung service provider, yung smart. Closed corporation ata yun sila. BPI, closed corporation. Bank of the Philippine Islands, closed corporation rin ata yun sila. Or mas familiar, si PAR, yung review center sa Sampaloc, Manila. Yan, closed corporation rin yan sila. On the other hand, may tinatawag tayong open corporation or one which is open to any person who may wish to become a stockholder or member thereto. Usually, ito yung mga nasa publicly listed sa stock exchange. ABS-CBN, GMA, Ayala, yan. San Miguel Corp, yan, mga open corporation yan. Kasi kahit sino, pwede maging stockholder, mag-invest dyan. Another classification is as to the relation to another corporation. Ito, baka hindi pa kayo familiar sa concept na to, yung parent subsidiary, or baka familiar na kayo, I don't know. But this is another classification of a corporation on the basis of the relation to another corporation. Paano? Parent or holding corporation or one which is so related to another corporation that it has the power either directly or indirectly to elect the majority of the directors of such other corporation. Si subsidiary naman, one who is related to another corporation that the majority of its director can be elected. Or indirectly by such other corporation, it is one which another corporation owns or at least a majority of the shares and thus has control. Ano to? Anong meaning yan, sir? Itong si parent, basically, siya yung may control kay subsidiary. Na yung accounting na to, sa BAPE, 7 pa natin. Kung ako pa maging teacher nyo dyan. Sa Advanced Accounting Part 2, Accounting for Business Combination. Si parent and subsidiary. Ganito yung itsura niyan. Ito si parent, under sa kanya si subsidiary. Yan. Yan lang yan. Yan yung itsura. Si parent, siya yung parent, si subsidiary under sa kanya. May control si parent over kay subsidiary. Yan lang yung meaning yan. Ngayon, etong si affiliated, ano to siya? Affiliated corporation or one related to another by owing or being owned by common management or by long-term lease of its property or other control device. So, ano mean yan? Affiliated. Simple lang. Etong parent corporation, pwede siyang magkaroon ng maraming subsidiary. Oo, pwede yan. Ngayon, etong si subsidiary 1 and si subsidiary 2, affiliated yan sila. Bakit to? Related to one another by owning or being owned by common management. So ito, affiliated yan sila dalawa because they have one parent. Anong example niyan? Alam niyo yung Lopez Holding, yung mga Lopez sa Manila. Under sa kanila yung ABS-CBN, under din sa kanilang ABS-CBN Foundation, yung Meralco under din sa kanila. So yun, subsidiary sila ng Lopez Holdings. So yun, yung ABS-CBN and yung Meralco, they are affiliated corporation because they share the same parent, which is the Lopez Holdings. O yan, di ba? O yan. Para mas maklaro yung classification nito. Next is we will go to as to whether they are corporations in a true sense or only in a limited sense. Anong meaning yan, sir? Parang magulo naman yan, Either true sense or only in a limited sense. Paano yan? Ito, true sense, when they are true corporation or one which exists by statutory authority. Ibig sabihin, may legislative grant yan. Either they are created by specific law or under by operation of law through a general corporation law, which is the revised corp codes para sa Pilipinas. So, may legislative grant yan. May authority. Statutory authority. Ibig sabihin, galing mismo sa batas yung kanilang creation. On the other hand, itong limited sense is quasi. Diba? Kung matatandaan nyo sa obligo nyo, itong quasi parang partly yung meaning yan. Quasi-corporation or one which exists without formal legislative grant. Mayun. Ito, may legislative talaga, formal. Ito, walang formal legislative grant. It is an exception to the general rule. Ito yung sabi natin kanina, that a corporation can exist only by authority of law. It may be either of the two. Corporation by prescription, ito na-discuss natin kanina, yung sa Roman Catholic Church, which has exercised corporate powers for an indefinite period without interference on the part of the sovereign power, and which by fiction of law is given the status of a corporation. A good example is the Roman Catholic Church, kasi sa tagal-tagal na ng Roman Catholic Church, and it exercises a power of a corporation, basically, and because of its, sa tagal-tagal na rin, by prescription, it is given the status of a corporation. On the other hand, may tinatawag tayong corporation by estoppel. Ano to siya? It is one which in reality is not a corporation, either de jure or de facto. So, hindi siya similar sa de jure de facto. Because it is so defectively formed, but is considered a corporation in relation to those only who, by reason of their acts or mission, are precluded from asserting that it is not a corporation. This legal assumption is not good, however, as against the state, but may arise only for purposes of private litigation. But take note, this is separate from a de facto corp because it has no real existence in law and has a de facto, and ang de facto kasi may real existence. Itong existence ng corporation based is mere fiction. Ano? Same lang yan sa 'di ba? Sa discuss natin sa partnership. Na itong corporation by estoppel, wala talaga siyang legal existence. Wala siyang real existence, I mean. Pero since it entered into a contract with other persons, believing that this entity is a corporation, then it will act as a corporation to in relation to the contract. Kasi dito, in relation to those only by reason of their acts of omission are precluded from asserting that it is not a corporation. So dahil sa pag-act nila, sa actions nila, saying na corporation kami, so we will do business with you. Pero hindi pala sila corporation. So they cannot use as a defense sa non-performance of obligation nila sa contract na hindi kami corporation at the first place. No, they cannot do that. Because by their own acts or admissions, pinakita nila. Para nag-show lang sila na corporation sila. Pero in the real life, hindi pala sila corporation. So yan yung meaning ng estoppel. They are estopped from saying na, or they are prohibited, parang ganon, precluded, estopped from saying that they are not corporations. Where in fact, by their acts or omission, pinakita nila na corporation sila in their relation with other persons. So yun ang meaning ng estoppel. I hope na gets nyo. As to whether they are, lastly, as to whether they are public or government or private purpose. Ito, medyo to. Public corporations are those formed or organized for the government of a portion of the state for the general good and welfare. Yan, mga public corporations yan. On the other hand, yung private corporations, those formed for some private purpose, benefit, or end. It may be either non-stock or stock, government-owned or controlled corporations, or quasi-public corporations. GOCCs or quasi-public. Quasi-public, these are corporations that are doing that, private corporations that are doing public functions later on. So dalawa yan, public corporations or private corporations. The true test is the purpose of the corporation. Paano? Para malaman kung public siya or private. Kasi if the corporation is created by the state as its own agency or instrumentality for political or public purpose connected with the administration of the government, then it is a public corporation. Yan. Instrumentality for political or public purposes connected with the administration of government, then you can consider that as a public corporation. On the other hand, if it is not, or if not, it is a private corporation, notwithstanding that it is created to promote public good, interest, or convenience, although the whole or substantially the whole interest in the corporation belongs to the state. Sir, medyo magulo. If you'll open your book, nandyan yung mga examples. Yung mga public corporations sa Pilipinas, ano-ano yan? Provinces. Corporation pa lang provinces, sir? Yes, it is a corporation. However, it is not a private corporation, but rather it is a public corporation. Another example pa, provinces, cities, municipalities, barangays. Ah, kasi itong mga corporation na to, itong mga public corporation na to, yung mga cities, provinces, they were created by a special charter, a special law. Oo, they were created by a special charter, special law. If you'll follow the news, di ba? May mga, di ba? Yung mga latest natin, may mga, yung Negros ata yun, na-divide, Negros ata ba sa somewhere, a province in Visayas, na-divide siya, na-divide into other provinces. Yung sa Davao, di ba? Davao, nag-iba na rin yung pangalan ng ano, Davao de Oro, di ba? Hindi na wala nang Davao do Sul, nadagdagan ng Davao de Oro. So, those public corporations were created by special charters, special laws, legislative grant, special laws. Na ito, hatiin natin. So yan, mga public corporations yan sila. Instrumentality for political or public purposes connected with the administration of the government. Kaya yung mga public corporations, provinces, cities, municipalities, barangays. Purposes with the administration of the government. Then it is a public corporation. If not, ito naman yung other hand, di ba? If not, it is a private corporation. Kapag hindi, automatic. If it is not for the instrumentality or for political public purpose connected with the government, then it is a private corporation. Notwithstanding that it is created to promote public good, interest, or convenience, although the whole or substantially the whole interest in the corporation belongs to the state. Anong meaning yan, sir? It pertains to government owned or controlled corporation or quasi-public corporation. So ano tong government owned or controlled corporation? Basically, these are those those directly created by special laws or if organized under the general corporation law and are owned or controlled by the government directly through a parent stockholder, parent corporation or subsidiary to the extent na at least majority ownership meron yung government. Yan yung kaya government owned or controlled corporation. Big sabihin lang yan, majority of its ownership belongs to the government. On the other hand, saan na tayo dito? On the other hand, itong quasi-public corporation, ito yung mga corporations that accepted from the state the grant of a franchise or contract involving the rendition of performance some public duties or services but which are organized for profit. Meaning yan ito promote public good, interest, or convenience. Although the whole or substantially the whole interest in the corporation belongs to the state. Yan yung mga GOCC yan and mga quasi-public. Sample ng quasi-public. Mga public, other term for them is public utilities. Public utilities. Anong mga example, sir? Zamboanga City Water District, Samselco, other electric cooperatives, other electric, tawag dito? Hindi pala, cooperative pala ang Samselco. Iba pala yun. Yung mga water utilities, electric utilities, Meralco. Quasi-public yan kasi nagpo-provide sila. Maynilad, Manila Water. Mga quasi-public yan. Bakit? Because they provide public utilities. Public utilities yan sila. So yan, natatandaan nyo, ang difference ng public corp sa private corp. Sa public corp kasi may particular purpose talaga yan eh. Ito, with the administration of the government. With the administration of government, ano yan? Ang provinces, administration of the government. Cities, municipalities, barangays, public corporation sila. Created by special laws. Ito naman, private corporation. Pag hindi siya nagpo-fall under dito, in connection with the administration of government, whether they are promoting public good, interest, or convenience, whether whole interest of the corporation belongs to the state as long as it is not for the administration of government, instrumentality for public or for political public purpose connected with the administration of the government. Kapag hindi ganyan yung purpose nila, kahit na pagmamay-ari sila ng state, kahit na they promote public good, interest, or convenience, you cannot consider them as a public corporation. You can only consider them as a private corporation. So yan, may distinction talaga. O, tandaan niyo, administration of government, public yan. Kapag hindi yan nandyan, kahit na pagmamayari ng state, kahit na it promotes public good or interest, pag walang administration of government, connected with the administration of government, then that is a private corporation. So, tandaan niyo yung difference sila. Ito, important distinctions. Basahin niyo na lang. So, continuing the discussion, let's go to Section 4 of Title 1. Section 4 Title 1 provides for the corporations created by special laws or charters. Ito pinag-usapan natin kanina na a corporation generally can be created in two ways. By law, by the enactment of a law, or by operation of law. For example, under the revised Corporation Code of the Philippines. Na ito pag-usapan natin, yung mga corporations created by special laws or special charters, big sabi, may special laws talaga na enact yung Congress natin for the creation of the specific corporation. Now, corporations created by special laws or charters shall be governed primarily by the provisions of the special law or charter creating them or applicable to them, supplemented by the provisions of this code insofar as they are applicable. Ito na-mention ko na kanina, di ba? The governing rules over the corporation is kung ano yung special law or charter na nag-create sa kanya. Itong code natin, Revised Corporation Code of the Philippines, will be only supplementary to this special law or charter. Pang-support lang ba, kumbaga, insofar as they are applicable. Now, take note, the enactment of special act creating a private corporation is subject to the constitutional limitation that such corporation shall be owned or controlled by the government. So, kapag yung corporation is created by special act, to a special law enacted by Congress, it is a requirement that such corporation shall be owned or controlled by the government. Ibig sabihin, kontrolado pa rin ng government, may stake pa rin yung government dyan. It can never, hindi siya pwedeng walang control ng government. Now, what is the reason or what are the reasons for this restriction? Ito, dalawa. It is chiefly to prevent the granting of special privileges to one body of men without giving all others the right to obtain them in the same conditions. Meaning, since it is a limitation na lahat ng corporations created through special law or special charter they should be controlled by the government. So, walang special treatment. Kasi lahat sila kontrolado ng government. Kasi kapag wala tong limitation na to, then the government can favor one corporation over the other. Kasi government yung through the legislative authority. Sila yung magbibigay ng express powers ng corporation na yan So, that will favor one corporation over the other corporations. Kasi government yung magbibigay ng ng express powers nila. Kapag government yung may-ari niyan lahat, may control, owned, then walang special treatment. So yan, isa yan sa mga reasons for the restriction. Pangalawa, perhaps this party to prevent bribery and corruption of the legislator, obviously. Kasi gaya na sabi natin, kapag walang tong limitation na to, then the government, the legislator can favor the creation of one corporation over the other, specifically through the granting of express powers. Yun. So, in order to prevent that that unfairness, di lahat sila kontrolado na ng government, so walang pinifavor ni isa kasi kontrolado sila ng government or owned by the government. So, walang pinifavor kasi government pa rin yung may control or may-ari at the end of the day. So, yan lang sa Section 4. Going to Section 5. Corporators and incorporators, stockholders and members. So, This provides for, Section 5 provides for the definition, composition, kung ano ba yung mga tao involved sa corporation in relation to the ownership or the interest over the corporation. Ito, corporators are those who compose a corporation, whether as stockholders or shareholders in a stock corporation or as members in a non-stock corporation. Ah, basta nagpo-pronounce ako ng S pati R, naglalaway bunga ako. Ha, katas, dami pa talang S pati R dito. Incorporators are those stockholders or members mentioned in the articles of incorporation as originally forming and composing the corporation or are signatories thereof. So, ano itong mean na Section 5? Basically, Section 5 provides for the composition or the components of a corporation. Oh, it provides for the components. Sino-sino yung nagpo-form ng isang corporation? Ano yung composition niya, kumbaga? Yung apat yung provide ng Section 5. Corporators or those who compose the corporation, whether they're stockholders or members. Kapag stock corporation, then stockholders sila. Kapag non-stock, then they are members. On the other hand, may tinatawag tayong incorporators, na-mention natin kanina pa. Now, these are corporators mentioned in the articles of incorporation as originally forming and composing the corporation and who executed and signed the articles of incorporation and acknowledged the same before a notary public. Meaning, itong mga incorporators, sila yung mga founders to ng corporation, the founding corporators. Sila yung nag-found. Sila yung nag-start ng corporation. Yun, oh. These are corporators mentioned kasi they were the ones mentioned sa articles of incorporation. They were the ones who formed the corporation in the first place. Kaya tawag sa kanila, incorporator. Now, take note, all incorporators are corporators. But not all corporators are incorporators. Kasi may mga corporators such as stockholders or members na pumasok na after the formation of the corporation. Kasi itong mga incorporators, sila yung nag-form ng corporation in the first place. So, tandaan niyo yung difference sila. Now, stockholders or the owners of the shares of stock in a stock corporation, they are considered as the owners of the corporation. Pero tandaan nyo, residual interest yan sila. They're also called shareholders, other name sa kanila. Yung mga members naman or corporators of a corporation which has no capital stock. Ito na, mention natin kanina. So, tandaan nyo, difference ng corporators and incorporators. Ang incorporators, sila yung founders. Founders sila, basically. Ang corporators, yung iba sa kanila, incorporators, yung iba hindi. Kasi yung ibang corporators, later on na, after the formation of the corporation na, pumasok. Tandaan nyo. Incorporators are also corporators, but what made them distinct is that they are the founders. Yun na. Take note of that. Ngayon, ito yung mga components provided by the law. Section 5. Ito naman, other classes. So, basa nyo, si promoters, ito na, mention na to sa inyo sa accounting for corporation nyo, promotor, si subscriber, and si underwriter. So, yan. For Title 1, may 9 sections to siya. But for this first part, we will only discuss Section 1 to Section 5. The second part of this topic, sa next video pa, we will discuss Section 6 to Section 9. Ang Section 6, mahaba talaga siya. So with that, we will end this video, Part 1. Sa next video, Part 2 of the discussion of Title 1 ng Device Corporation Code of the Philippines. So with that, bye-bye muna. Love you.